All right, so we're going to keep on going with Lebanon, and this is the third part of it. In the afternoons, an eclectic group of internationals gathered on the balcony of the hostel, smoking cigarettes, drinking arak, and talking about their reasons for being in Beirut. Often, I found myself the lone American among Europeans trying to explain to a continent how it is that Donald Trump came to be elected President of the United States. I have an answer now. I didn't have an answer in 2017, but I have an answer now. It's hard to explain, it's hard to understand, but there is an answer, and maybe one day we'll all understand it, right? Another aside, sorry guys. It was a conversation to be had in every country that I traveled, but it was never easy to explain, let alone understand. As it was, my father, the man who I spoke to about everything, and I had stopped speaking to one another in civil tones in the months surrounding the election, and had not spoken since. We talk now, of course. That, to me, was more difficult to accept than America's propensity towards drama and grandeur. How could I be so very far away from my father and not tell him what it was like to travel to Lebanon 40 years after he did? How could I not tell him of the best hummus in the world? Then again, it was my hope that if I could better understand a world so old, then maybe I could then understand the new. For although technology may have progressed, human nature has remained the same. But these afternoon discussions only revealed how easy it was for foreigners to come to the Middle East and offer what little they knew of peace. As we spoke, a woman lounged in the shadows, listening in contemplative silence. Her short sleeves and shorter shorts revealed her sun-kissed arms and legs. In between drags of her hand-rolled cigarette, she spoke above the others. "My name is Brianna, and I am American, and I have opinions," she quipped, her accent thick with sarcasm and Antipodean charm. With the statement as bold and true as that, I had no choice but to respect her. So quick was this lesson, so abrupt its delivery, that I did not offer a retort to the contrary. How could I? She was right. Her name was Joanne. Australian, she had spent the greater part of the year living and working in Jordan as a dive instructor. Her eyes were bright blue like the sea she loved, and a crooked smile convinced me that somehow she still had all her troublemaking years in front of her, rather than behind. That night, she introduced me to more of the beauty of the Levant. That night, she introduced to more. Oh, sorry, I can't read. I'm so sorry. English is not my first language. That's a lie. That night, she introduced more of the beauty of the Levant to me. The food, the men, and Arabic words not yet known to my ears. We dined until midnight at a restaurant at the far end of Mar Mikhael, sharing small dishes that somehow seemed bigger. Fattoush, tabbouleh, hummus, octopus, and all of it accompanied by olive oil that made even my Italian cheeks blush. We ate with our hands or with bread so thin that it was almost transparent, tearing and folding it between our fingers before dipping it into the feast before us. I had to remind myself to eat with intention, for to eat quickly is to forget, to eat slowly, delight. After all was finished, it would have been impossible to eat more. We walked back to the hostel with swollen bellies under a swollen moon. Most nights before sleep, Shadi would come to my room, leaving the door open just enough to let the light in. In the remaining darkness, he sat on the edge of the bed, and together we talked of our days, our lives, our fears, and our dreams. When Shadi spoke of his home, there was lament in his voice, for he knew that to leave Syria was to live, to stay, almost certain death. Every day, Shadi was torn between his country and his life, as if one could not possibly exist without the other. Shadi knew more English than I knew Arabic, but still we practiced learning the language of the other. If ever he grew frustrated, he would smile, tisk his tongue, and say la, 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 no, no, no. But his frustration was not born from my failure to understand him. It was his failure to understand the world. From Shadi, I learned all the things that are permissible in Lebanon. For all the times I said to him, "I can't do that," he responded with two words that always convinced me otherwise. "You can." Maybe here, like India, nothing was impossible. For Shadi, everything was too much. He emphasized his vowels, elongating them into the night, and when he spoke these two words, he said them in such a way that there was no other choice but to agree. He would say it like this: "It's too much, it's too much." From then on, everything encountered in Lebanon was too much. Too much beauty, too much history, too much war, too much, too much, too much.